Hello and good day. Today, I'm going to present a topic on sustainable public procurement in Malaysia. What drives it? My presentation today will be guided according to the list of content in the slide. Public procurement. The acquisition of goods and services in government contract by governments is referred to as public procurement. According to the World Bank, the government procurement market is regarded as the world's leading economic sector. It represents an average 15 to 30% of GDP worldwide and grants strong buying power to the public sector. Furthermore, Malaysia's economic study 2009 to 2018 has shown that public spending amounts around 24 to 33% of GDP. This follows the global trend of large-scale national government procurement spending. Due to its high share of government spending globally, public procurement has played a significant role in academic research and public policy in recent years. In view of the above-mentioned market size, procurement is now seen as a significant policy instrument which has a tremendous potential for shaping trends in production and consumption, which lead countries to develop a more sustainable economy. In fact, public procurement can be instrumental in achieving broader policy goals. Sustainable procurement activities are one of the methods to reduce adverse environmental impact. Sustainable public procurement aims to achieve sustainability by applying government procurement power and integrating environmental, social, and economic aspects. The transformation of the economies, job growth, budgetary economy, and environmental conservation are some of the advantages offered by sustainable public procurement practices. Public bodies use sustainable public procurement as a policy instrument to resolve social and environmental problems. As an environmental policy instrument, the sustainable public procurement has an effect on environmental emissions reduction, sustainable growth, green manufacturing improvement, and environmental supply chain development, creating a government-driven environmental protection status and guiding public green consumption. There has been a prevalence of work in developed countries such as Sweden, the US, Australia, Norway, Denmark, and Germany. Sustainable procurement is the procurement of goods and services using the most economical design in the application of environmental, economic, social, and good governance implication. In Malaysian context, sustainable procurement is recognized as one of the primary practices for achieving green efficiency and sustainable development through value chain. It was included as one of the objectives in Sustainable Development Goal. There were few studies on sustainable public procurement in Malaysia, such as a study by Ahmad, studies on Malaysian public enterprises, including statutory and non-statutory bodies, or known as government-linked companies, on managers' awareness on green public procurement. There is also various study looking into green procurement implementation in the construction industry, management criteria for green building, green purchasing behavior among consumers, and empirical study on the impact on sustainable performance of green human resource management and green supply chain practices. The Malaysian government has committed itself to explicitly integrating sustainable public procurement in its national strategy document in search of sustainable economic development. The Economic Transformation Program, ETP, represents the national main economic area, for example, and identifies them as drivers of economic activities. The ETP recommends that up to 50% of such public sector goods and services purchased should be equalable by 2020. Other than that, the aim of the new economic model, NEM, is sustainable growth. To this end, The NEM specifically notes that a more effective procurement mechanism tackles both economic and social sustainability and environmental impact. The National Green Technology Policy (NGTP) was developed to help companies, producers, and suppliers that provide green goods and services to become environmentally sustainable and competitive in the local and global markets. The NGTP supports government green procurement implementation by calling for prudent management and conservation of natural resources to enhance economic competitiveness and raise national living standards. The need for green economic change is expressed in the federal budget. For example, the amount of 1.5 billion ringgit Malaysia was allocated for green technology funding GTFS ventures in the period of 2010 to 2012 and has been increased to 2 billion ringgit Malaysia for the year 2013 to 2015. The Ministry of Finance Malaysia endorsed GTFS 2.0 in April 2018, an enhancement of the GTFS with a financing amount up to 5 billion ringgit Malaysia. Additionally, green government procurement is a fundamental strategic approach for fostering growth in the Sustainable Consumption Production (SCP) blueprint, implemented into the 11 Malaysian Plan basis of the proposed green growth through SCP. The public sector is crucial. It is described as a situation in which Malaysia may spring into the future. Green government procurement therefore works towards growing demand for green goods and services and toward promoting standards in the green industry. Given the enormous implication of resources and gain obtained due to implementation of sustainable public procurement, we are still facing issues on the implementation. Sustainable public procurement has not been properly examined as compared with private sector procurement. Only a few studies have examined the position of the public sector in developing sustainability initiatives. Less research has looked into this area, specifically looking into Malaysia public sector context. This study is motivated by gaps in the literature of implementation of sustainable public procurement in understanding of factors that influence the implementation of sustainable public procurement. Fully aware of such shortcomings, we aim to add to the current body of knowledge by conducting a rigorous assessment of drivers of sustainable public procurement implementation and developing a conceptual model of sustainable public procurement, including the drivers. Managerially, our work identifies the link of drivers in sustainable public procurement implementation, highlighting its significant role in implementing sustainable public procurement. To structure the conceptual model, resource-based view theory (RBV) is used. RBV is a well-established principle that organizations, through vital resources and skills that will improve their competitive advantage. The RBV can be used to explain organization greening, since it is one of the analytical lenses used the most frequently for evaluating environmental practices. RBV will also help to better understand how human factors can facilitate the adoption of sustainable public procurement. This discussion can enable managers to understand their company's internal issues when using sustainable public procurement practices. Employee competence. Competencies are the behaviors and attitudes that people need to function effectively. Standard literature indicates that professional competencies, including human attributes, behavior, talents, experience, personality, personal consideration, principle, and belief. Employee competence has also been demonstrated to affect sustainable organizational performance. In the study involving managers, companies in Taiwan's information and electronic industries, the result reported that employee competence was positively correlated with green process innovation performance that related to sustainable performance. Subsequently, a quantitative study by Subramanian also confirmed that employee competence positively linked with green performance. A study in public construction procurement had identified competencies as one of the stakeholders' value needed for their sustainable procurement delivery. As a result, the hypotheses below were proposed. Hypothesis 1. Employee competence has a positive effect on sustainable public procurement implementation. Motivation. Employee motivation dictates what they do, how they do it, and also how hard they work. Motivation benefits organization because it mobilizes human capital, improves employee productivity, contributes to the accomplishment of organization goals, fosters pleasant relationship, and contributes significantly to work sustainability. A study by Gravers and Sarkis reported that motivation is subsequently positively correlated with pro-environmental behavior, which lead to sustainable public procurement implementation. Likewise, study among manufacturing companies in Spain conclude that employee motivation has a positive impact on the firm's competitive environmental advantage. Workers' environmental management tends to account for 8% of the factory's accomplishment of an ecological action-based competitive advantage. This demonstrates that the more workers are inspired to collaborate on environmental issues, the greater the company's potential to gain an environmental action-based advantage. Based on previous finding, we hypothesize Hypothesis 2, motivation have a positive impact on the implementation of sustainable public procurement. Training. Training can be described as a structured process for organizing people with the experience, behavior, and ability to assist organizations in carrying out their responsibilities and plans. Green training is an essential component of a company's long-term sustainability strategies. According to a few studies, environmental training boosts the green skills of employees who are responsible for executing the organization's environmental strategic plan to achieve its environmental performance objectives. In a recent survey in UAE among employees in various private, semi-government and government sector conducted by SING, prove that environmental training has a profound and positive impact on environmental performance. Furthermore, an empirical study by Mazni and Jaron using employees from manufacturing organizations in Palestine discovered the association between training and green practices. Thus, we postulate the following. Hypothesis 3. Training has a positive effect on sustainable public procurement implementation. Financial support. In the public sector, money is spent based on conventional market rates, while green products are more costly. With regard to the decision to purchase renewable goods and services, the high cost and relative life cycle costs of available green products on the market are reluctant to decision makers and are dependent on their organization's budget irrespective of the benefits. However, study shows that engaging in sustainable practices has a positive influence on organization financial results. Hassan and Rahman used analytic hierarchy process (AHP) techniques on health procurement executive from 2 Australian states to examine the problems of applying green public procurement in Australian public healthcare. The result shows that one of the most significant issues is lack of financial resources. Meanwhile, a significant correlation was found in study by Bunyamin on respondents from Malaysian public enterprises in a DEFI study by Costa. Therefore, we propose Hypothesis 4, financial support has a positive effect on sustainable public procurement implementation. Top management commitment. Top management commitment to sustainability means that senior managers are committed to preserving nature, driving the company's environmental policy, and promoting its environmental initiatives. The most influential practices for incorporating sustainable supply chain management are management dedication to sustainability and the integration of three fundamental approaches into strategic decision making. Research has also implicates the environmental interests of managers, influences how green innovation affect the efficiency and competitiveness of companies. Prasad reported that top management commitment was one of the strengths as an enabler of successful adoption of sustainable supply chain management practices in business. This research is backed by Rashid's study of managers from Saudi food processing firm. We propose Hypothesis 5, management commitment has a positive effect on sustainable public procurement implementation. Organizational culture. Organizational internal factors, which is organizational culture, has a significant impact on employee environmental commitment and organizational management. Aligning human resource processes, structures, and key strategy areas like corporate culture and employee empowerment with important environmental and organizationally related goals is the smooth side of more environmentally friendly organizations. In addition, organizational culture plays a key role in sustainability procurement as variables related to human capital. An empirical study by Mazni and Jaren involving manufacturing organizations in Palestine, the findings reveal a link between organization culture and sustainable public procurement implementation. Thus, we postulate the following. Hypothesis 6. Organizational culture has a positive effect on sustainable public procurement implementation. As we can see, this is the suggested conceptual framework. We have 6 independent variables, which is employee competence, motivation, training, financial support, top management commitment, and organizational culture. And we have 1 dependent variable, which is sustainable public procurement. And we have 6 hypotheses as mentioned before. Though Malaysia has made major progress towards its goal of sustainable development by encouraging public and private sector organizations to adopt sustainable procurement practices, there are still significant roadblocks in the way of full implementation. Conceptualization of sustainable development in Malaysia should encourage the strategic utilization of public procurement, not just as a means for the efficient and rational use of public funding, which requires a change in public procurement approach. To achieve these goals, the buying power of the country should be acknowledged. A change is not only required in the conceptual approach to procurement, particularly strategic use, but also for strategic thinking. This includes clarifications of the need for general procurement and consideration of the possibility of leasing, sharing, orientation towards services rather than goods. Sustainable procurement is now commonly recognized as a strategic lever for public and private sector organizations worldwide to accelerate innovation and increase their sustainability efficiency. Sustainable public procurement thus relies on a strong international policy foundation. It will be the government's greatest economic intervention in building green markets. The government's large buying power would generate demands for green goods, services, and technologies. Market transformation, job creation, monetary economy, and natural resources conservation are some of the benefits offered by sustainable public procurement activities. Sustainable public procurement is thus also known as an efficient changing agent and a central mechanism for influencing public policies. As a result, policymakers are becoming more aware that public procurement can take a strategic position and directly contribute to the accomplishment of organizational sustainable goals. Governments may use sustainable public procurement to set an example and achieve key policy goals in the environmental, social, and economic fields. Therefore, it is essential to measure these effects to assess current practices and to inspire new countries and organizations to join the global sustainable public procurement movement. And that's all for today. Thank you for your time and your attention. Have a good day.